Mm. But and the reason that I wanted to have a chat with you is because I've been talking to a few different local hypnotherapists about how they do their hypnosis online. And your name has come up a couple of times during the course of those interviews, largely from myself, because people have asked, what kind of approach would I use? And I have come back frequently to talk about your approach of identifying what a person might like to do and allowing them to become focused in and absorbed in that experience of what that is. Yeah. And it became obvious to me that perhaps I should chat with you as well to share with the participants in the group as to how you may approach doing hypnotherapy online. And I know that's or how you might help to induce hypnosis online. Largely because I think that the work that I've done with you, the training I've done with you, I found extremely beneficial, and I've always encouraged everyone to make sure they do training with you at some point, because I think that what you offer is extremely powerful and valuable. It's extremely capable of getting people on side and into the experience, but also gentle at the same time, which is a wonderful experience to have.
Yeah, thank you.
But I guess for those who may not know anything about your approach, and are curious to know how you might help someone to go into hypnosis online, I thought that might be a good opportunity for us to have that quick chat now and just see if perhaps there's some wisdom you can share.
One of the things I learned from my time with Erickson was the way he connected even quite extreme behaviour back to normal as an extension of normal behaviour. Mm. So that, for example, post-traumatic stress disorder, we can think of that as an extension of having bad memories that influence us. So by taking the weirdness out of the diagnostic process, the psychiatric diagnosis process of pathologizing and then treating, if we think of what happens to any of us as an extension of everyday life that can happen to all of us, then it becomes less weird and more approachable, more accessible, and more useful. So as far as face-to-face hypnosis, or as compared to online hypnosis, I can't see a big difference personally. I mean, we're in face-to-face hypnosis, we're sitting there with someone, and very often they'll close their eyes and they might go for a walk on the beach, or they might go to the park and do some exercises early in the morning, like some people enjoy doing. And even though an observer would see that the therapist and the client are in the same room, the therapist is in the room and the client's walking on the beach or doing some exercise down the park. So there's already a distancing or a disconnection, or some people like to call it a dissociation, if you want to get technical, between what looks like is happening and the experience of what's happening. So I can't see a big difference. The one difference, and the only one I can think of, is if we're going to use catalepsy. If I'm going to help someone to have an experience of catalepsy, I'm going to reach over and lift their arm. Now, I can't reach over and lift your arm because there's bastrators in between us, So that's something that's different. But arm levitation, any other experience, I don't. It's not like a big leap of faith, or not a big translation or a big adaptation. I don't see it.
I know in your process, and I should explain, I'm muting myself in between speaking simply because the roadworks outside was becoming a little bit too overpowering and overwhelming there, and I didn't want to have other people have to experience that as well.
But at the same time, Lawrence, just because it's there doesn't mean we need to have to focus on it.
No, exactly. Exactly. But I think the more I can eliminate it, the better.
Nothing wrong with that.
The press of
Not,
a button, it's suddenly no longer there. It's wonderful.
might be useful, but we've all got the buttons inside ourselves we can press, and it's as if something is not there.
Mm.
I'm looking at you,
powerful,
and
yes.
I can see there's on the over your left shoulder there's a painting you've got on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't need to press a button to not see that, but when I look at you and start to focus on you, that becomes part of the background.
Yes.
That's just how we live. That's how we experience things.
I know from your experience as well, because for those that don't know your approach in that sense, you ask people to go into an experience of something that they enjoy doing and to become absorbed in it and to go deeper into that experience. And I know part of what you do as you're with them is to watch as they go into that experience and to ratify some of the things that are happening for them at that time. Have you found that to be a challenge at all with online, given that we can see each other well now? However, we have varying technologies out there, or how do you set that up with the clients to make sure that you're still capable of being able to see those changes that exist?
I don't see clients, Lawrence, but I do a lot of online training, and there's a group of people who are joining in on online training, and so we are all in separate windows of equal size using Gallery View, Zoom. So if I were to be working with you, for example, as a client, then I would do what you probably know about. It's called pin video. So instead of us being two equal size windows, when I pin your video, or if you were to pin my video, then I become larger. So it's easier to observe some of the subtle changes that happen when the window is larger. We get a larger view of the person. And all my online training, we like to talk about things, but also I like to do a demonstration so that people can see how this might play out. And then people go into breakout rooms all within Zoom and they can practice. You know about all this stuff. Mm. But I've found that I can see people that I'm working with, inviting them into hypnosis absolutely well enough to be able to observe someone changing their blinking, seeing their face smooth out. And if you look at someone's upper chest or their shoulders, you can usually observe the breathing. So there's plenty of opportunities to observe what's happening and then to feed that back to the person interested in going into hypnosis. So I find there's not a significant difference in face-to-face or online. I don't notice any difference at all.
Mm. I do think for anyone who hasn't had the opportunity to do any training with Rob, I do see it as being one of the most essential trainings that you can do. I guess for anyone who is watching this video now, Rob, what can you tell them about your approach, your training, and how could they go about doing something with you?
Well, can we play with this?
Sure.
So, Lawrence, could you tell me about something that you like to do?
You know what? At the start of last year, I went and bought myself a turntable again. And I hadn't owned one for many, many years. And I, in some ways, not that I never stopped liking music, but I found that my passion for it had diminished quite significantly. And so I went and bought this turntable, and I discovered that playing vinyl had become this mindful experience for me again. Uh-huh. That I could put on, not just listening to the music, but the whole experience of it. It took me back to my childhood of having that piece of vinyl and to observe the beauty of the artwork and the tactile feel of the vinyl as well, putting it on the turntable and the needle and hearing the needle go on it and being able to just sit back or lie back on the couch and just immerse myself in that experience of listening to the music.
Yeah.
So that's something that has become quite special for me. I must admit, I haven't done it for the past few weeks. I should actually make some time to do it again very soon. But for me, when people talk about something that they love to do, that you wish you can do all the time,
Sure.
that's a simple pleasure. That is the immediate thing that comes to my mind.
Okay, so when there's something about the vinyl, the process, the tactile, the artwork, there's something about that is really appealing to you, and you like it. And as you are talking about that, anyone who was watching you at the moment would start to notice certain subtle changes happening. Even the way you're nodding your head. Normally we nod our head like that, but you're nodding your head like that. So there's a change in the way you're nodding your head. There is a subtle change in your face so that the muscles are smoothing out. And your blinking is subtly different. It's less frequent. There's a slowing down of your blinking. And if I were to look at your breathing, I can't be absolutely certain because of the darkness of your shirt in the background. But it wouldn't surprise me if there'd been some slight slowing and deepening of your breathing. And all of those changes happen not through my suggestion, but through my invitation for you to notice how it is for you to focus on your experience of listening to the vinyl, the turntable, focus on that, and then allow yourself to become even more absorbed in that. And just as it's so easy for you to allow yourself to focus and become absorbed in doing something that you like to do, any person who has an opportunity to be invited into doing something and experiencing something that they like, of course, it's going to be easy for them. So in that sense, I'm not inducing hypnosis.
No.
Ever. I'm always simply inviting someone, in this case yourself, to get back into the experience of doing something that you like, so that's familiar, it's easy, it's pleasurable, and then you've got something to focus and get absorbed in. So there we go. So it's really, I like this approach because it's evoking something from within you, as an example, rather than me trying to impose something on you. You know, the hypnosis that I learned, I was going to hypnotize someone. I was going to induce hypnosis. I was the one doing it. But in this approach, I'm just somehow inviting a natural process that's going to be easy for anyone to start to focus and get absorbed in the experience of doing something they like to do. Who's going to be resistant to that?
I think that was one of the biggest gifts that I got from the training I did with you. Was that I remember you were the first weekend of our diploma.
Oh, yeah.
And I had started that weekend feeling that I was fairly okay with what I did in terms of work with hypnosis. But there was something about the learnings of that weekend that shifted my mentality, and I realized that this was not something I was doing to someone else. It was simply I was able to sit there and be with that person as they go through their own experience, and to be able to help take what they were doing and to feed back and guide them even further into that experience even more. And it took the pressure off me.
Exactly.
Suddenly it was no longer about me doing this to them. It was about me just creating that invitation, that space for this work to happen, and to allow that to happen quite naturally. And I've lost count of the number of times I've used your approach over the years with clients, because it is just such a wonderfully gentle yet powerful way to approach this.
It's interesting that you call it my approach, because all I was doing in that experience was showing something.
Mm.
then you've made your own interpretation of that.
Yes, I have.
You're using not my approach. You're using your approach.
Yeah.
And one of the really important transitions for me was Erickson's notion of the common everyday trance, where you read a book, get involved with driving a car or watching a movie, and that's something that anyone can do, anyone does. And if we think of hypnosis then, not as a special state or as a heightened responsiveness to suggestions, like some people say, but simply as an extension of the common everyday trance. Well, anyone can get absorbed in whatever they like to do, reading a book, looking out the window, walking a dog, doing exercise in the park, listening to music. We can all do that. So we don't need to think, can this person be hypnotized? How hypnotizable are they? What can I do to hypnotize someone? No. It allows us to see that we are all in our own individual way having experiences that's not like it's all hypnosis, but we're having, to use Erickson's phrase, the common everyday trance. So we all do that. So if we can think of hypnosis as an extension of that, no big deal.
I also like the frame that you use about the invitation.
Yeah.
Because, inevitably you will have some people that will still have their fears or concerns or even want to be that rebel that pushes back and does the whole "you can't hypnotize me" routine. Sure. And by having a frame of, would you just like to play? Would you be happy to be curious about this and to explore? I think it really helps to remove that resistance and to just allow people to naturally go with this flow and to tap into that everyday trance state.
I would say it does more than avoid the resistance. It removes the resistance. It actually, it doesn't create it. So there's no resistance there to get past. I like that phrase that there's no resistant clients, just resistant therapists.
Yes.
I'm not saying that's true, by the way, but it's a more useful starting point.
It's a great mindset to come from, isn't it?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get picky about words. Induction is something that I don't like. Suggestion is another word I don't like. I just get very picky about these things because they bring a kind of mood of doing to some. I'm suggesting you do this. I'm inducing you. If that works, it works. If that's just a sensitivity of mine that I just don't like those words.
It is, and even within that, there's a whole debate that could potentially happen, or discussion that could potentially happen. Sure. I have certain friends who don't like the word trance, for instance.
Yes, exactly.
Or state, or any of those kind of words. And I guess, even for most of us, we use those words because these are the words that we were either taught with or that we have created meaning from.
Yeah, it's just part of the jargon that goes with the. When you belong to that club, you get the jargon. Yeah. No.
If people do want to do training with you, Rob, how can they do that? What is coming up that they can approach you about?
Well, if you go to my website, which is simply cet.net.au, there's a list of what's there. And a good way to start, there's a free program that's really quite detailed and quite textured. Someone can enroll for that. It's free. And there are demonstrations and there's monthly video calls like this that happen for a couple of hours. And that would provide a really simple, easy and quite thorough introduction into this approach, which, as you know, I'm not promoting this. I'm not saying this is the approach. It's just an approach.
It's just that approach, exactly.
And some people like it and some people don't like it, but that's most people find it useful. Now, I've got a more intensive program starting in June, and I'll be letting people know about that, but there's details about that on the website.
Great. And I'll make sure that we have something pop up on the bottom of the screen here with that details, and we send out a PDF, which this video will be embedded into as well, and make sure there's all the details there as well for people.
Thank you. Yeah. And I'm always happy to have a query from anyone about anything. And my email is just rob@cet.net.au. So if anyone's got a question or query or concern, I'm always happy to hear about that.
Wonderful. Rob, I'll let you go for today, but I really do appreciate your time today just to be able to share some nuggets of wisdom there for people. You know, the whole aim of this practice group is really just to help people find confidence in what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
I know at the moment with a lot of people, they're finding perhaps that their client poor at the moment, which is another reason why perhaps they're not feeling as confident with seeing clients online because they're not getting the experience. Yeah. So hopefully they can take some of the things that they're hearing in this. Think about to have a guest pop in right now, or at least a tail. Okay, just you can't see, but this boy is suddenly popping up.
A therapist, eh?
Yeah, yes.
There's something I think if I can just take.
It's actually a therapus.
There's something that I found really pivotal about confidence too, and that is if we are the one performing, we better know our stuff. But if the focus is on the client and helping them to find their own, then, you know, Erickson said we can always be totally confident that every client has all the resources they need to go into trance and to resolve their problem.
Someone's wanting it. Someone's trying to hypnotize me at the moment. You realise that, don't you?
We know about black cats. You know, they always bring good luck.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your time, Rob. And, no doubt I'll speak to you again sometime in the near future.
Thanks so much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you.
Take care.
Okay.